Hey guys, it's the Plum Dot here, and welcome back to my channel for the 1,000 subscribers celebration! Oh, yeah! I'm so excited to be doing this Q&A for you guys to get to know me a little better. But first, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed, liked, commented, or watched any of my videos, because without you guys, I wouldn't be here. So thank you so much from the bottom of my plum little heart. I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and it means more to me than you will ever know. So to celebrate this fantastic milestone, I thought we would do a Q&A, some cast, and just chill while you guys get to know me a little better. But that's not all. I decided that I wanted to do a little bit of a flash giveaway for those that contributed to this video. So if you guys ask me a question for this video, I have entered your name into a randomizer, and the top 3 people will be able to choose a Sims 3 or Sims 4 gift. So either an EP or SP from The Sims 3 or an EP, GP, or SP from The Sims 4, as long as I can find them. And don't worry if you guys have everything from Sims 3 or Sims 4, you guys can give your prizes away if you wish to do so. And for anybody else, don't worry, I still have this massive big giveaway that I've been talking about since before Christmas that I need to do. I haven't forgotten about it. I promise. I just wanted to do a little bit of a surprise flash giveaway. So surprise! So stay tuned till the end of the video to find out who the winners are. And before we get into the Q&A, I just want to say I am so sorry if I butcher anybody's usernames. It's not intentional, and sometimes I do get a little bit tongue-tied, so I hope you guys will forgive me if I just completely screw up. But I'm gonna stop rambling here. We're gonna jump right into it. So let's Q&A, cast, and chill. So we're gonna start with the basics. Mandy G asks, where are you from, and are you in a relationship? So I am originally from America. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, the West Coast, the best coast. But for the past 6 years, I've been living in the north of England. And this segues into the next question. Are you in a relationship? Yes, I am married and have been for 6 years. My husband is English, and that is what brought me to the UK. So I'm like one of those mail order brides. Not really, I'm totally kidding. And Mandy G also asks, along with Joe, what is my in real life job? So for work, I am an executive assistant for a company that buys and sells commercial aircraft. And I absolutely love what I do because for some reason, for some strange reason, I absolutely love paperwork and organization. Joe also asks, where have you traveled in the world? And oh my goodness, this is a doozy. I wouldn't say that I'm like well traveled, but I have traveled quite a bit later on in life. I traveled a lot with my parents when I was younger. So I've been to Mexico, the Caribbean, Hawaii. I've been loads of places in the States. Like off the top of my head, I've been to Boston, I've been to Georgia, I've been to Portland, which is in Oregon, Idaho, like all the West Coast states, California, Nevada. Actually, fun fact, I actually eloped in Vegas. So yeah, I've been all over the United States. And a lot of the reason that I traveled around the United States when I was younger was because I used to play softball competitively from the age of about 7. So there were always competitions all throughout the United States that my parents would gratefully take me to, and we would travel that way. And as I got older, I've traveled a few more places. So I lived in Australia for a while. I've been to Ireland. I've been to, where else have I been? I've been to Italy, I've been to Spain, but fun fact, since I've lived in the UK, I haven't traveled a lot. But like I said, I wouldn't say that I'm well traveled, but I do like to travel when I am able to. So Emma Jess asks, what do you like to do when not simming? I love to read and write. I've been a reader since I could basically read. So I think I learned to read when I was about 4 or 5, and I'm like Matilda. I just love books. I've always loved books. And to this day, if I've got time, I will sit down with a book and just get lost in it because that's just one of my absolute favorite things to do. Emma Jess and Nick Sims YT also asked, what is my favorite book and my favorite movie? So hands down, my favorite book, and this is from when I was a child, has to be The Last of the Really Great Whangdoodles by Julie Edwards, who is actually Julie Andrews, who was Mary Poppins and Maria from The Sound of Music. And that was from the 5th grade when my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Gray, who was my favorite teacher, read us that book, and she did all the voices for it. So if you guys haven't ever read that book, I highly suggest it. It is amazing. And my favorite movie, I was actually talking to my husband about this the other day. I don't really have a favorite movie. I think we got it to like a top 7, so I'll see if I can remember my top 7 favorite films. So Fried Green Tomatoes, Christmas Vacation, Legends of the Falls, oh god, I'm drawing a blank. A League of Their Own, Beauty and the Beast, Grease, and Pretty Woman. I think that was my top 7. I couldn't get to a top 10, but those are my favorites. And Nick Sims YT also asked, what is my favorite series? I'm assuming that is a television series. So I love Scandal, I love Archer, and I've also recently discovered a series called Glitch, and I loved that. And it was only 2 seasons, but it was brilliant. It was just, if you guys haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It was so very good. And they set it up like there could be a 3rd season, but I'm not sure if they're actually going to be making one. But I did love that series. And I also like The Catch and The Killing. Those were very good series as well. I know these aren't favorites. These are like more like top 5s. So Dr. Ashley asked, what's my favorite hobby besides YouTube and my favorite food? So I do like reading, like I said before. I do like writing, but I also, as I mentioned previously, I love to play softball. I still play whenever I'm actually in the south of England, because when I first moved over here, my husband found me a softball team to play with. So anytime that I am down in the south of England near my husband's hometown, I do play with a team there, and I just love it still to this day. But I haven't played in quite some time, so I'm probably really bad at it now. But you know, maybe it's like riding a bike and you just don't lose it. We'll have to see next time I play and pick up a bat. And my favorite food, that's a toughie because I'm a bit of a foodie, but I'm also a creature of habit. But if I had to choose my favorite type of food, it would depend on where I am. Probably in the States, I would say Italian food, and probably in the UK, it's gonna be a curry. But then when I'm at my mom's house and she's cooking, I love a steak. And what I do with my steak, which is probably gonna gross some of you out, but I cut my steak into little bitty bites, and we always have potatoes with it, and I don't like the potato skin, so I peel off the potato skin, mash that up with butter and salt and pepper, and then we always have salad with ranch dressing, and then there's usually sweet corn or corn, and I mix it all together in this like brilliant bowl of mush, and I could eat that morning, noon, and night. That's just like my favorite combination of food. Don't knock it until you try it, and if you try it, make sure there's loads of ranch dressing on it. So Dr. Ashley also asked, what is the story behind my channel name, The Plum Dot? So when I first decided that I wanted to do YouTube, I bought a notebook and I started writing down ideas that had to do with where I'm from, the things that I like to do. So I was trying to incorporate things from Seattle, which is where I'm from, things I like to do, reading. I'm a big nerd, and it just wasn't coming to me. It wasn't coming all together, but I've got it all written down and it's kind of like mapped out. And I was looking at it before I did this Q&A to answer this question, and I was like, this really doesn't make sense how I arrived at the Plum Dot, because it went from things like Feeny, and it went from things like Zed, which is Z in the UK. And I wanted to do something like with me being an American expat, or being a septic tank, which is yank in Cockney rhyming slang. And I don't know how I arrived at the plum dot, to be quite honest, because it goes from all of those different things, like different parks in Seattle, and then it's got plum. But plum has always been something that's been with me since I was little. One of my first screen names when I was on AOL, I know, throwback, was actually Sky Blue Plum. And so I like to eat plums, so why not use plum? And I also love the color plum. And then dot was, I'm a very big like word nerd, and I love periods and full stops, whatever you want to call it. So I thought, well, you can't be plum period. That's just weird. So I just went for plum dot. So I was plum dot for a little bit, and then I've got this obsession with the word the. If you guys have seen any of my YouTube videos, you'll know that most of the builds that I do start with the word the. So I decided to drop that in the beginning, and thus the plum dot was born. But it's not very anything profound. It was just a big old mess, and here we are. That's what I've arrived at. So Calvin Pfeiffer asked, is my icon a character, or is that actually what I look like? And I would say it's more of a caricature of myself. I don't exactly look like that, because I think my icon is actually pretty beautiful. But I kind of took bits and pieces of myself, and I told Ursula Decay Art, who actually drew the icon, to kind of put this into a person, and that is what she came up with. And so yeah, I wouldn't say it's me, but there's bits of me in there, if that makes sense. So we're gonna get into now more of the simming questions. So Lori and KenziiSims asked, when did you start playing The Sims and how old were you? So I started playing The Sims in 2000 when it came out. I was 14 years old. So yes, I am an older simmer. I'm 32 years old. And I can just remember playing The Sims 1 on our road trips to Montana, to my parents' ranch out in Montana, and my niece and I would fight over the laptop and who would play The Sims. And because I was older, I usually always won, but that is how I spent a lot of my summer vacations, was actually playing The Sims 1. And I've just loved this franchise since the very, very beginning. And I haven't really, the love's never really faded for the franchise. It's my favorite game. So Lori asks, when did you decide to start a YouTube channel? And this is going to segue into a few other questions. So Silent Simmer asked, how did you start YouTube? And then Rosebud YT, Tribe Simmer, E Jade Emerald, and Perry also asked what inspired me to start my YouTube channel. So this is going to be a little bit of a probably rambling story. So like I said, I've always been a simmer. I've been a builder probably since Sims 2, and I kind of went completely into building in The Sims 3 after Showtime came out. And so I've only recently started getting back into playing the game, because before I became more a part of the community, I had no idea what a Let's Play was. I'd never seen anybody do a Let's Play. I didn't watch what Let's Plays. I didn't know what they were about. So that was kind of an eye-opener and another aspect to the community that I really enjoy. But why did I decide to start is actually in October 2016, I went to a Simmers meetup, and the English Simmer was there, Steffo Sims was there, Rachy Bop was there, James from the Sim Supply was there, Deligracy was there, and it was just really cool to see like all the interaction that was going on in the simming community, because I hadn't really ever been a part of the simming community apart from the forums. That was kind of my home, but I didn't really think there was anything outside of the forums until I discovered Twitter, the Twitter community, and that was in January 2017. So kind of after I went to that meetup, I decided that, you know, maybe I can do this, but it took me quite some time to actually start making my YouTube channel, because what I did, I went out and I bought I went out and bought a notebook, and like I said, I wrote down all these ideas of what I wanted to be called, and I wanted to make sure that I was completely set up before I actually started started doing YouTube. So I got a new computer, I got a microphone, keyboard, everything. I wanted to make sure that everything was completely set up before I started. And it took me a good few months after I had become the Plum Dot on Twitter and YouTube to actually put out my first video. I think my first video was in May 2017, so a good like 4 or 5 months before I started. But before all of this, I've of course been watching YouTube videos, and it was not something that I ever thought that I would actually do. It didn't really enter my mind that I would ever do YouTube. It was probably more going to the Simmers meetup that I was like, hey, yeah, I can do this. But saying that, there are a lot of YouTubers that do inspire me. Kiwisimming is one of them. I loved watching her builds. GirlMeetsPixels is an amazing decorator, and she is now over on Twitch, and I just love her aesthetic. And then of course I learned a lot from the Sim Supply. So many building tutorials. I watched all of them. And then also the Empty Attics was somebody else that I watched, and TheTidesChanging. I learned a lot from those guides while watching YouTube videos. But the fantastic thing about this community is that I continue to get inspired by people like Dr. Ashley, who does base game only builds, is such an inspiration. The Sims Gallery is an amazing builder and decorator. DevonBumpkin is out of this world. HeyHarrie, KenziiSims, ZenSimmer, they both still do Sims 3, and I am just in love with their builds. And so I continue to find new people who inspire me to kind of keep going, which is something that I absolutely love about this community. But I think what gave me the final push was definitely going to the Simmers meetup and seeing the people that were there, and me thinking, yeah, maybe I could do this. Maybe this might be a little bit fun. So I hope that answered the question in a very roundabout, rambly way, because I do have a tendency to ramble. Perry also asked, why do I stick with Sims 3? Oh, come on, Sims 3 is my bae. It's the best. I love The Sims 3, and I don't think that is ever going to change. So Harry, Sparkling Pixels, asked, what inspires you to do house builds? So, fun fact, when I went to university, I wanted to be an architect, and that was because of The Sims and me being a builder in The Sims. And my family laughed at me, everybody laughed at me, and now I'm laughing at myself because, you know, it's great to have inspiration, but to go to college thinking that it's going to be as easy as The Sims, it's not like that. I got into the math classes that were required for architecture, and I'm horrible at math. So my dream was kind of dashed from becoming an architect and an interior designer because I just don't have the math skills to do it, but it is something that I really enjoy. So that's what The Sims inspired me to do house builds, and also wanting to be an architect inspired me to do house builds, and kind of pushing my creative limits to see what I can do. Those are the things that inspire me to do house builds. And so that Ali Simmer asks, how do I get inspiration and do I draw plans before? So I get inspiration sometimes from real life, sometimes from Google. I do a lot of Googling and looking at floor plans. And also a lot of times I get inspired when I'm away from my computer, which is a pain in the bum, but I always make sure to have my notebooks on me so that if I get inspired, I can kind of draw something very quickly. But a lot of the times when I'm traveling down to my office, I have my notebook and I see the houses that are on the train route, and I'm just like, I'm so inspired right now by all of these sort of terraced houses, and they're just really cute, and I love the architecture in the UK. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. And do I draw plans before? Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just take a plan straight from Google, and sometimes if I have something in my head that I want to do, I take a load of different plans from Google and kind of mash them up. So it's not all the time that I draw plans, but sometimes I do. So Sweetie Pie asks, What is the best and worst thing about starting your channel? What have been the ups and downs, and how do I cope? So the best thing about starting my channel is really getting to be part of this amazing community, and a bigger community than I thought that was out there. That is probably the best thing. Engaging with you guys, talking to you guys, that just gives me so many warm fuzzies and makes me so happy. And probably the worst part is when people are really disrespectful. I know it doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes there are really disrespectful people in the community, and that really kind of grinds my gears, and I don't like to see things like that. The ups and downs, the ups are when you hit really, really big milestones, I would say. And also another big ups is when people kind of give you recognition. Prismatic Simmer is one of like the biggest supporters in the community. She is such a sweetheart, and she is always giving shout outs to simmers, and that is like a huge up. And probably the downs is when you look at your analytics. That's such a downer for me, and so I tend not to look at my analytics because it's depressing. I used to look at it constantly. I used to watch my subscriber count constantly, but now I only really check my subscribers probably, I would say, once a month, and then my analytics, I only go into them if it's absolutely necessary. So how do I cope? I don't look at my analytics. That's the moral of the story. So, EJ Emerald asks, what's my favorite EP, GP, and SP from each game that I've played? So for Sims 1, it was definitely Hot Date. I loved the plain footsie under the table. I thought that was the cutest interaction in the world. Sims 2 would have to be University and IKEA home stuff. University because how about that streaking? Like, that was amazing when you first saw that. It always used to make me laugh, and I was 18 years old and I was actually at university when The Sims 2 came out, so it was kind of like, is this what university life is actually going to be like? And then for The Sims 3, I would have to say it would be ambitions for the careers that came out, because you do have the home designer career, which again, with me wanting to be sort of an architect and an interior designer, I got to play out that aspect a little bit more. Or it would have to be Seasons because of the weather. And then my favorite stuff pack is 70s, 80s, and 90s stuff pack, and I think it's just because of a particular chair that I use a lot. For Sims 4, I'd have to say it would be City Living, just because it was a completely different world that came out, although I don't like that you're confined to that world for apartments, so you can't build apartments outside of the world. And then for the GP, it would be Parenthood, because it brought something completely different to the series. I don't think we've ever seen that in-depth sort of family relationships, and so that was nice. And then Laundry Day, surprisingly, is my favorite SP. I think that one was done very, very well. So Megan Joe asked, do I have a favorite build buy item that I slip into all my builds? Well, yes, Megan Joe. My favorite is the armchair that came from 70s, 80s, and 90s stuff. I try to slip that into most of my builds. And usually it's going to have a very loud color on it, a pattern, or it's going to be cow print. And then Prismatic Simmer asks, what is my favorite house style? And how long does it take me to build? So if you would have asked me my favorite house building style probably a year or two ago, I would have hands down said it was modern, because I got to use a lot of constrained floor elevation and work with flat roofs. And then probably I've moved into, I really like industrial, but now I would say that I like more traditional family homes. I've been doing a lot of those, and actually the reason that I always used to do modern builds is because I couldn't roof to save my life. Roofing was the bane of my life, and it still is. I still rage quit quite a lot when I'm working on roofing, but you know, practice makes perfect. So if I keep going, I think my roofing will come more natural to me. But I haven't done a modern build in quite some time, so I might have to write that down and actually do one, because it has been quite a while. Now this next question cracks me up. How long does it take me to build? Yonks. I don't even know if I could put a time frame on how long it actually takes me to build something, because it varies from build to build. I mean, even a renovation can take me quite some time. I recently did a university dorm renovation, and I had 13 hours of footage for that. Building a house from scratch it depends on the size. Like the starter home that I built for Theo in my Simon Says LP, or not my Simon Says LP, in my Avant-Garde LP, that probably took me about an hour and a half, and that was just a starter home. So I would say anywhere from an hour and a half to maybe 10 hours depending on the build. But I think what takes the longest is recoloring. That takes ages because, like y'all know, I'm an indecisive sloth and I change my mind constantly. So I think that's what takes the longest part for me when I'm actually building and decorating. So Ria, Sims Haven YT, asks, what is my favorite Sims build that I have ever done? Now this was really, really difficult for me to choose because it seems like every build that I do, it's my new favorite. But I kind of went back and I had a little think, and my favorite build that I have ever done is the fire starter house, which was for the build and share challenge on the official forums. And what the backstory that I had in mind for this particular home, and it had to be a starter home, which if y'all know me, you know that I'm terrible with budgets. It had to be a starter home, and I just came up with this idea that I wanted to build like a converted firehouse. So in Old Bridgeport, there was this firehouse back in the early days, and when they moved it into town, they decided to keep the old firehouse there, and then some developer came along and turned it into a house. So that would hands down have to be one of my favorite build that I have ever done, just because it looks like a firehouse to me, and I was really proud when I was finished with that. But it took me ages to figure out how to actually make my vision come to life. So this is a question that I got a lot. Alyssa TheSimmer and Nick Sims YT both asked, will I ever make Sims 4 videos? So I hope sort of the end of this video kind of answered that question for you. But yes, I am planning to bring out more Sims 4 things. Probably here and then also over on Twitch, which if you guys didn't know, I do have a Twitch channel. I haven't started streaming yet, but I am going to be doing that in the near future. But yes, I will be doing on Twitch both Sims 3 and Sims 4. But I have been, like, off camera, been spending a lot of time in Sims 4 Create a Sim, and it is pretty darn cool. Like the push and pull method, I have to say, is pretty awesome, and I do like that, but I still can't get over the hair. But yeah, we won't go into all of that. But yes, I will probably be bringing more Sims 4 content out in the future, so stay tuned for that. And last but certainly not least, Mary Mew asks, do I play any other games? There is a short answer and a long answer to this. So the short answer is, at the moment, no, I don't play any other games besides The Sims. But in the past, I have played a variety of games. I grew up with a Nintendo 64, a PlayStation, a Sega, so I played things like Crash Bandicoot. My niece and I used to love playing Dead or Alive. I used to play Mortal Kombat a lot when I was growing up, Super Mario Brothers, all those types of games. I do love Dance Dance Revolution. I went through a Guitar Hero phase at one point, but there is a game that is coming out that I am super stoked about. It's not a PC game, but I am so looking forward to the new Red Dead Redemption. When I played the first one, I'm pretty sure I stayed up for a few nights in a row just playing the game, my husband and I playing it. I cannot wait for it to come out, and I think it comes out in October if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, I'm just so excited for that. And sometimes I do play GTA with my husband. Sometimes we play NFL, but because he knows all the controls better than I do, I get really frustrated because I don't like it when people click the same buttons or do the same plays over and over in order to win. I think that's a little bit cheaty. And then also when I was growing up, I did play a lot of other computer games. So I played Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, the Clue game online. I played the American Girl doll series, and my absolute favorite was the Oregon Trails. Whoop whoop, that's a throwback. And then I also played a game called Pajama Sam. So in my time, I've played a lot of other games, but recently, no, it's just all about The Sims. But hey, if you guys can think of any other PC games that I might enjoy, go ahead, drop them down below in the comments, because a little variety never hurts anybody. And who knows, maybe I'll stream it or I'll make a video on it if that's something that you guys would want to see. But you guys, we've made it. That concludes the end of this Q&A session. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to know me and listening to me ramble, bumble, and fumble over my words, because it's what I do. But I'm going to go ahead and cut to announcing the winners of the flash giveaway for those that asked questions that contributed to this video. But I just want to say once again, thank you guys so very much. Thank you for 1K. I appreciate it. And here's to the next 1K. Don't be a plum stranger now, guys. Bye!